everyone, and good morning and welcome to the West Ham Transfer Rumour Show. So yesterday morning was exciting, weren't it? West Ham linked to two big players in European football, and the first one we're going to discuss is Memphis Depay as skint Barcelona continue their carnage circus over in La Liga. They're trying to offload players so they can simply register players they've already paid for. It's just mental what's going on at that club. But anyway, Memphis Depay is set to be collateral damage in all of that. He's allowed to leave on a free transfer so they can free up his wages, get him off the budget, then at least be able to register one more player, hopefully. Now, let me make this clear from the start. I don't expect him to join West Ham. He's strongly linked to Juventus. The player himself has stated he wants Champions League football. But that didn't stop him being linked to West Ham, because the reports were that there was a mysterious club in London willing to make him the highest paid player at that club by offering him £200,000 a week. Now, I've got a little bit of an issue with that £200,000, the way it's reported, but we'll get onto that in a second. The only club that rules out though is Chelsea. I know there's some talk about how much Gabriel Jesus is on at Arsenal. I don't think it would be too far away from that. And I'm not too sure Spurs would have anyone on that wage either. They've got quite a strong structure over there. So I think it rules out Chelsea with Raheem Sterling going there and being on over £300,000 a week. But that's it. So that leaves Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, Crystal Palace. All those clubs are still very much could be one of those mysterious ones if the reports were true, of course. Now, David Moyes came out in his press conference yesterday and said, it's not us. We are not the mysterious London club. Now, let me reiterate. I don't necessarily believe it. Well, actually, I do. I do actually believe there's some form of conversations taking place. I just don't believe we can persuade him. I think the percentage is extremely low. A low figure. It's a bit pie in the sky. But I have to confess, yesterday, do you know you have those players over their career you admire, and you have this desire, an unrealistic desire to some extent, to see them play for your club. Memphis Depay is one of those players for me. I've just really enjoyed watching him play football throughout his career. I almost convinced myself yesterday, you know what? I think he could work at West Ham. Memphis Depay and Moyes. Yeah, I can see that working. I can see them suiting one another. I can see Depay being the solution to our creativity problems as well. I almost got caught up in this make-believe bubble that it could happen. I found myself almost wanting it to happen just based on it. I mean, when I thought about it realistically, I thought, well, it's just not going to come to West Ham, is he? But you never know. Now, part of the reason I believe it, despite what David Moyes says, is because David Moyes couldn't really win, could he? If West Ham were actually interested in Memphis Depay, he could never confirm that in his press conference yesterday. He could never say, yes, it is us. We're the ones bidding. West Ham fans out there, get your hopes up, because I, the manager of West Ham, is confirming we're offering £200,000 a week. I'll get onto that. For a player. Memphis Depay as well. Get excited. We're trying to bring him to the club. So he's always going to deny that's West Ham. Now, part of the reason I believe it is because the report came from Jacob Steinberg. Now, Jacob Steinberg yesterday reported West Ham's interest in two players, one being Depay, which Moyes has denied, and the other one being Matheus Nunes, who Moyes has confirmed to some extent that we were at least interested in him. So, essentially, Moyes is saying, well, that journalist has got 50% of that report correctly. So, I'm inclined to believe that maybe we did at least inquire, and possibly at the most inquire about the availability of Memphis Depay. Now, in regards to the £200,000 a week thing, I'll be very brief here. There's a new way of reporting this summer, I feel, and it started with Erling Haaland when he went to Manchester City. I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it one more time. When that transfer happened, because of his relatively low release clause, it almost didn't suit Sky Sports' story. Well, this isn't a big money transfer, is it? Just over 50 million for one of the best strikers in world football. That's not like headline grabbing. That's not controversial. So they just started lumping everything in. In the end, they started talking about how it's a £250 million transfer because they included his transfer fee, his agent's fee, his wages over the term of his contract, everything, every possible penny Man City were going to spend in relation to Erling Haaland got dragged in, lumped in, and all of a sudden he's a 250 million. Well, he wasn't 200. He was just over 50 million. And I think this is where, a bit like the He Who Shall Not Be Named, I'm going to name him, the Jesse Lingard saga, it all got lumped in Now, Percy, I really like Percy. I think he's a brilliant journalist. I think he's really reliable. But when he did that article a couple of weeks ago about how Jesse Lingard's actually on less money at Nottingham Forest compared to what West Ham offered him, it was so misleading, because it took West Ham's basic wage salary, West Ham's goal bonuses or whatever in there, it took his signing on fee in there, divided over the term of his contract, and it came to 100 and whatever grand a week it was. With Nottingham Forest, he's taken his basic salary and that's it. He hasn't included his sign-on fee or anything like that. So of course the Forest one is then going to look less than the West Ham one. But since when have we reported player contracts like that? We've almost perhaps naively ignored sign-on fees or whatever and just focused on the basic wage. So it's just frustrating me. And the Memphis Depay one is a little bit like that. It's a free signing, we're going to give him 200 grand a week. Well, that's just not going to happen, is it? If you look at it as an £8 million signing on a 2-year contract, and this is for West Ham specifically here, if we were to put Memphis Depay on 125 grand a week, which we know Kurt Zouma's on, so we were to match our highest earner at the club, give him an £8 million sign-on fee, which I think is fair, would you not agree? That works out at a 2-year contract, that works out at £200,000 a week. So yeah, I just don't like the way it's been reported, that's all. So a little bit of a mini rant this morning. So do I believe we were interested in Memphis Depay? Yes, I do, actually, because I do think Steinberg's got a lot correct this summer. I don't think he's got many things incorrect, actually, in relation to West Ham. He was the one that broke the Jesse Lingard going to Nottingham Forest story as well, when everybody knew he'd just taken a private plane down to London, happy days, and Steinberg said, well, hang on a minute, it's actually for Nottingham Forest. What? Hang on, you sure? So, you know, he's got a really good hit rate this summer, Steinberg, and he's reporting the Memphis Depay thing. And like I said, Moyes, what is he going to say? However, do I think we'll get him? No, absolutely not. 1%, 2% at most, maybe. Have I got my hopes up? Hell yeah. Do you know why? Because I'm a football fan. And I think it's important that sometimes you do just believe, whether it's that you might win a trophy, whether it's you might win a game up against a team superior to you, whether it's you might sign an ambitious player. It doesn't mean you have to think it'll actually happen. Just, I think it's almost fun to allow yourself just to dream, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Just dream. But Memphis Depay playing in between Jared Bowen and Maxwell Cornet, with Gianluca Scamacca up ahead of him, with a fit Michail Antonio on the bench. I mean, that's just stuff of dreams, isn't it? Anyway, shall we leave Memphis Depay chat and talk about Matheus Nunes? But before we do that, this video is in collaboration with Spitch. You've heard myself and Gonzo bang on about this over the last couple of days, but if you get downloaded now, there's time to play the game week today as the Premier League gets underway at 12:30 today. The app is free to download. It's the sister company of OneFootball, our friends at OneFootball. So you've got the OneFootball app, it's the same people that own Spitch as well. It's their fantasy league game. So it's free to download, it's free to join up, and there's free to play games on there as well. And this is the one I want you to join today. It's completely free. I'm going to pop it up on the screen just now. But once you've signed up, get onto the app. On the bottom left, click on there, and then click on the Classic Mode Premier League. It's free to join. £2,500 for the season, but also £700 at the time of recording. £700 for this week's gameplay. Now that £2,500 one, the season mode, the good thing about that is it takes your top 5 game weeks over the season. So even if you enter on match day 30, you've still got a chance of winning just as much as somebody that's playing it since day 1, because it takes your top 5 scores, your top 5 scoring weeks, and that is your score for the season. Now, Spitch has got unique scoring when it comes to point scoring, so your midfielders can pick up points simply for doing interceptions and for doing successful passing as well. If you take a look at the points last week, you'll find it's not always the big hitters that are scoring the big points. Also, Spitch allows you to go over budget. You ever play Fantasy Football League and think, oh, if only I had an extra million. Don't worry, you can on Spitch, but you'll start the week with minus points. So there's a sacrifice to going over budget. And once you've done all that, head over to communities and search for Hammers Chat and join in our league as well. We might have a prize for the winner. We'll tell you more about that next week. But get it downloaded. Link is in the description below. Now, Matheus Nunes. I'm not going to pretend to know loads about him. I've heard of him for sure because, well, he's highly sought after. Big reputation for 23-year-old in European football. But I don't watch Portuguese football. it'll come as no surprise to anyone. I don't have time to watch the French league. French league's higher than the Portuguese league, according to UEFA coefficients. Not me, UEFA said it. So you're watching this and you've got a problem with that, bring it up with UEFA. You've probably got a few problems with UEFA to bring up, really, haven't you? Anyway, I've seen him a handful of times for Portugal, though, coming off the bench in Nations League, but I'm not going to comment on that because A, he didn't play very long, and B, in the last few days, I feel like I've sort of praised Salia based on what he'd done with Hungary. I feel like 12 months ago I praised Vlasic on what he'd done with Croatia, so I'm not falling for this trick of judging someone going by what they played for their country anymore. I will, but not for Matheus Nunes. So here's the story. Yesterday, the reports came out that West Ham had a bid rejected. We had bid 25 million. They want 42 million. But this is where it gets a bit interesting. David Moyes, in the press conference yesterday, said the player said no. That, to me, is confirming that we wanted him. That is confirmation that we wanted Matheus Nunes, just that the player doesn't wish to come to West Ham. Reports suggest he's also turned down Wolverhampton Wanderers. Obviously, Wolves have got really strong links to the Portuguese players in the Portuguese league with their super agent, Nuno Mendes. I assume Matheus Nunes is one of his clients, but he doesn't want to go to Wolves either. He's holding out for Champions League football. So we're not there. Well, we're quite a while away from Champions League football at least, aren't we? So he doesn't wish to come to West Ham. Well, I have to confess, when it came out and saw Sporting, I thought, oh, here we go. Sell us Nunes or we shall loan a player from PSG. Yeah, of course you will. David Sullivan, you dildo brother. Do we all remember that saga? That was fun, weren't it? I mean, at the time it wasn't, but now we've had a couple of good seasons. You can look back at it and smile a little bit. Anyway, so, given what happened when we tried to sign William Carvalho, I thought, well, surely Sporting Lisbon would even pick up the phone or click on David Sullivan's email. So I thought, is it the same guy in charge? I had a look to see if it's the same president in charge of Sporting Lisbon today as it was back then. Turns out it's not, which, okay, fine. Maybe there is a little bit of something in this with West Ham. But then when I thought, well, when did this guy leave? I had a look. I forgot all about this. This is the guy, Bruno de Carvalho, was the one. He was the president of Sporting that had to leave, got voted out of being president, because he was the one that incited sort of fans turning up and fighting the players of Sporting. It's mental. Google it. I completely forgot it happened. So yeah, he was sort of removed from his position, because of he got the fans to turn against the players. I mean, it's just wild, isn't it? Anyway, I still enjoyed what he called David Sullivan and David Gold. So a couple of positives from this, I guess, is, if you believe it, is that we're still going after an expensive centre midfielder. Obviously, we were in for Zielinski and Abdou Onana. Well, now Matheus Nunes is almost like a fourth centre midfielder, because I'm including Ward-Prowse here. A fourth centre midfielder that we're perhaps prepared to spend big on. Obviously, other reports linked us to Conor Gallagher on loan. I do wonder if both of these things are true, then surely we might switch to trying to sign Gallagher on a permanent transfer for around that £40 million mark. So we'll have to wait and see. The other good thing is the player has said no. So there should be no West Ham going back in and trying to renegotiate with Sporting. And the player said no, I don't wish to come. So far this summer we have seen examples where we've gone, fine, don't worry about it. Say like Kostic. Kostic said, I don't want to come to West Ham. We've gone, right, no worries. We'll focus on the Maxwell Cornet deal. So I'm hoping if Matheus Nunes has said no, I don't wish to come, we'll say fine, we'll move on to the other target. Some reports also suggest that Rob Newman has sort of knew about him from his days at Manchester City as well, which is good. This is what I was hoping to see. I was hoping to see Newman bring his data, even if it's just in his head, with him to West Ham and say, right, these are the transfer targets that Man City we scouted. They might be good enough for Manchester City in a couple of years' time, but they're not just quite yet. That's who West Ham essentially need to go and get. Now, moving on to Spezia, centre-back Jakub Kiwior. This was brought by Di Marzio yesterday, who was one of the journalists leading from the front, with a Scamacca, an Italian journalist as well. He's suggesting that West Ham have had a €12 million bid, a £10 million bid for the 22-year-old Polish international. Just a Polish international who's only just broke into the team, just 2 caps so far. However, I don't know anything about him. He's left-footed, that's all I had to look at really. But I think the dilemma for them is that he's only 10 million today, but if he has a strong campaign at the World Cup, his price tag will go up. Likes of AC Milan are interested in him as well. So we'll have to wait and see if there's legs in this one, but the reports are also suggesting that West Ham are cracking on with Thilo Kehrer and that his agent is due in London for talks, and that West Ham are continuing to negotiate with PSG. But the latest was that West Ham's initial bid from PSG was rejected, but they were going to go in with a second one, and they're confident they could agree something with the French club, and then it's just a case of trying to convince Kehrer to join West Ham. Obviously disappointing, we've not got him in time for tomorrow's game. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not that bothered. I would have liked to have seen a centre-back in before yesterday noon, but I guess the important thing is getting somebody in for our next game, which is on Thursday. Of course, we kick off our Europa Conference League sort of campaign. Can we call it that? It's just a qualifier. We're not really in the competition yet, are we? We've also got European football on Thursday, followed by the Premier League, followed by European football, followed by Premier League. A lot of games coming up. This centre-back needs to be here quick. And if he misses the European game, fine, we should be okay for that match without him. But remember, we are missing Declan Rice for that game, so we're already a key man down. But certainly for next weekend, we need a centre-back signed this week. Reports suggest West Ham are set to bid $20 million for Leicester City fullback Luke Thomas. It's a name that's been bandied around over the last few weeks. He's been linked to West Ham quite a bit. Didn't start their opening game last weekend, which is possibly encouraging for West Ham. Does that mean he's gettable? Possibly. I mean, at 20 million, I think he is. Bear in mind the situation Leicester find themselves in, which is they need to sell before they can buy. And with James Maddison sort of being strongly linked to Newcastle, I say strongly, Newcastle have had 2 bids rejected for James Maddison. Chelsea wanting Wesley Fofana. I think if you want Luke Thomas, if West Ham want Luke Thomas, I think they need to move fast, because I can't see them allowing Schmeichel to go, which he has done, and then Maddison, then Fofana, and then Luke Thomas. Well, they need to sell before they buy. Bear in mind, Yuri Tielemans still wants out as well. I can't see them selling all those players. I don't think they need to take in 200 million. So selling before you buy is one thing, but I don't think you need to sell £200 million worth of player, unless you're Barcelona, before you can bring in players. So I think if we want Luke Thomas, I think we're going to have to move sharpish. I was saying that we are being linked to another couple of left backs, but I'm not going to mention them in this video. I'll save them for next week. And Caleta-Car, remember him? The Marseille centre-back. Apparently we can buy him for 8 million. I think we were linked to him for about 18 million a couple of years ago. Just nothing's ever materialised, does it? I don't believe this transfer rumour, by the way. I think this is about as lazy as transfer rumours get, because clearly we've known about him, we've had a look at him, we've decided not to pursue him. I don't think we're at that desperate stage yet. If this was the 28th of August, I say that, it's my birthday, so I just thought throw my birthday out there. If this was 28th of August, I might believe it, because I would get the vibe of panic buying, scattergun approach going on. But we're not at that stage yet. I still feel we have a bit of a plan. The plans, I don't think it's going to plan. The injury to Nathan Guerd, I think Issa Diop wanting out. I think that 2 things weren't part of the strategy this summer. Well, the injury wouldn't be. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had intentions to sell Diop, but the injury to Guerd, the injury to Dawson has had that domino effect, and now it's a case of we don't want to sell Diop yet, but Diop said, well, tough, you wanted to sell me, I want out. It's a bit like Lewandowski when he was at Bayern Munich. You know, you want Haaland, fine, well, I'm off. It doesn't matter if you get the player or not. You want to replace me, fine, but I'm off ski now. You've annoyed me. And it's a bit like that with Diop. I feel worthless. I don't feel wanted. I want out regardless of what happens. So that's not happened. But I think the club have had a little bit of a strategy, a little bit of a plan. I find myself calmer than Gonzo. I think there's a lot of work to be done, but I still get the impression that whatever Moyes and Newman had, as I call it, the domino effect, I still feel they're on track. It might not be as quick as me or you want. It might not be the players me or you want. But I get the sense that they are doing what they want to do. It's just that they've got a little bit of a problem now, which is they probably need to buy a centre-back they weren't intending on purchasing. And that's where I have a little concern. Well, what does that do to the budget? If we've had a budget, we've divvied it up specifically for positions, for certain players and stuff. Now all of a sudden we're going to have to pull 15 million out of that for a centre-back. How does that impact us with the other dominoes, if you like? So lots to do. Still plenty of time in the transfer window. I would have liked business to be done a little bit earlier though, because the season is now underway. Second game in the Premier League tomorrow. I'm still not confident. We're playing Nottingham Forest. I'm not confident. I should be. We're playing a promoted team. But I'm not. I'm pretty nervous, actually. The closer we get to kick-off, my nerves are starting to get... I'm getting a little bit uneasy here. But, yeah, I'm just not confident that we're going to win. I'm optimistic, but confident, no. Anyway, that's your West Ham Transfer Rumour Show. Get involved with Spitch if you don't mind. When you download Spitch, you help support the channel to some extent. They think, oh, Hammershire are doing okay. They're getting the downloads. We'll continue to support the channel. Sorted. Anyway, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be back tomorrow, an hour and 5 minutes before kickoff. So you're not going to the game. Get back here tomorrow on YouTube, and we'll catch you then.